Hello everybody, welcome, welcome. I see some chatter going on over there in the box, so welcome to everybody. We have some Oregon people, some Washington people, and somebody all the way over from Virginia, so I see several of you in there. I'm going to start off by saying welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. I'm going to get the business part out of the way. For anybody who is new here, this is my Mystery Box Live series where I open up or pull out 3 products from some mystery supplies. It could be from a box that is completely unknown supplies. It could be from a pack of mystery pattern papers or from a pack of mystery 12x12 stencils. And then I put those products to use on some kind of project. So this is a lot like the Mystery Basket cooking show, and that is what inspired this project multiple years ago. So we'll get started in just a moment as more people trickle in. Last month I had a little bit of a tech glitch. I think I've got it fixed this time around. It just so happens that my streaming software just kind of forgets some things every once in a while. So I let it forget it and I told it to remember it, and we should be good to go on the tech end. I do try to keep the live stream to about an hour, although we may go over a little bit here and there depending on how things are going. So let me go ahead and switch that screen over to our spinner wheel, which tells me which product category we're going to be choosing from. And this is the part that was not working last week, so it's looking good this time around. I've got my spinner wheel all set up. I'm going to go ahead and hit spin. Oh, maybe. Come on, spinner wheel. There we go. And we've got the big box, which happens to be my favorite set of supplies. So I'm glad we've got at least one of those to work with. Let's go ahead and spin for the next one. We got some pattern paper this time. Oh, dropped my pencil. Alright, I'm going to make myself a note just because my memory is that bad. And then for item number 3, looks like we're going to get our third item out of the big box. Alright, let's switch back over to me. Alright, I do have supplies sitting on my desk already. I can go ahead and put away the stencils since we won't be working with those this time. And I will switch the camera over to... Oh, the wheel is just something that's a free picker wheel online. So I just found one that worked for me and I've stuck with it so far. It allows you to input various items for the picker, so it's worked out okay besides ads, so just ignore those. Let's switch back over to overhead. All right, so we've got me and we've got my desk, and I will move my notes off to the side. So the first 2 items technically are out of the big box, so I'm going to go ahead and pull those, and then my pattern paper is hiding down here, and I just reach in, I try to grab the first thing that I touch because I can feel things. Ooh, that feels like 2 things. Okay, I'm going to take the top one of these 2 things, and I try not to let my sense of touch sway me. Okay, this looks like, if we turn it over, it is a wintry embossing folder with a kind of Christmas village scene on it. Okay, I like the idea of maybe just cutting out some of the houses and using them as individual elements. We could also do the same thing with the trees, depending on what the other items are. So this is probably that thing that it was stuck to, which is another embossing folder. So we got lots going on today. What is this one? Is it Halloween? I see pumpkins and spider webs and a moon. The moon could go with our scene, and some leaves. We may be doing some 3D embossing and cutting apart elements. All right, so those are our 2 big box items. I'm gonna set that off to the side. And then our one piece of pattern paper. Gotta try and get just one. That's always the problem, especially with pattern paper. I know this is all simple stories, but I don't know which paper lines any of this is coming from. All right, we've got something very party-esque or possibly Magical Day. Could be a Disney line, say cheese at the park. So yeah, it's kind of a festive Disney line. What have we got on the other side? Lots of cameras. I am good with cameras. So that is a good side for me. I'll set these aside. Now, the challenge always is what kind of project to make. Card making, tag making, maybe an art journal page, scrapbook page. Let me see what is clicking. I did mention, let me go ahead and open these. I've been playing with my die cut machine because one of my viewers said they were having trouble. They have the same die cut machine that I have, and they were having trouble with 3D embossing folders, and I've kind of been having some trouble with those. Part of the problem is that not all 3D embossing folders are created the same. Some are super thick and have a harder time running through the machine. I'm pretty sure that the Simon Says Stamp embossing folders are one of the brands that are super thick, and so I will have to adjust my sandwich to make sure that no damage happens. All right, I'm going to leave these as reference off to the side. And I'm really, the first thing that caught my mind was maybe creating a scene with the houses and the moon from this one, maybe some leaves. But what do I do with that scene? Is it a card? I mean, we have some sayings that could go for a card. We do have a best day ever that could be a good title for a scrapbook page. Wow, quite a challenge. Yeah, I'm feeling the challenge this time. Let's see. I just don't know what I want to do. Okay, so I'm going to grab my story binder, which is just an 8.5 by 11 binder that I keep page protectors in, and photos with notes of stories that I want to scrapbook about. Do I have anything that might be best day ever? This says meeting the big cheese. I don't think I have a story like that. Just a little goofy. That could be a scrapbook layout. Let me see. Okay, I know I'm going to apologize at this point. I have some medical photos in here from a surgery I had last year. I'm going to try and not to show you those because they are photos the surgeon took and gave to me, and I like that kind of stuff. So those are in here. Just a little warning. I do have photos from a scrapbook retreat that I did in 24, the summer of 24. This is our happy place, and I've got the colors right here. That's it. We're gonna do it. We got a scrapbook layout going on. All right, I'm gonna pull this stuff out. This is some of the ephemera that I gathered from that trip, so I will most likely just tuck this whole pouch behind the layout once it's done and keep that ephemera with the story. Now, this is only part of the story, so I will have to coordinate the other layouts that I want to do after this. Do I want to do a 2-page layout? Because I do have these photos prepped from that event, and I know Lynn, who is watching tonight, should be in some of these photos actually. And there she is. There's Lynn. Sorry, Lynn, I called you out. Didn't. Apologies for that, but I'm excited that you're here watching, and we were together in person back then. So I'm going to grab some. I will go ahead and make this a 2-page spread because we've got plenty of photos to fill up the pages. I do have them already printed, and I can cut apart elements to mix and match them across the layout. So what color pattern paper or cardstock do I want to pull out? Part of me was thinking red, just because I don't use a lot of red. Teal is always my favorite color. Let me see what I've got in here. Okay, I pulled out multiple things just because it was all right there. This is the new Spellbinders Color Wheel cardstock, and I think moving forward I'm just going to use their cardstock for my scrapbooking just because it's convenient. I know what all the, well, I don't know what all the colors are, but I know what the color ranges is, and so I can just order these when I'm ordering other things where I already shop. The pumpkins and the houses. Yes, I am going to definitely emboss those and cut them out. I think I might use a circle punch to create a few elements to layer. So I think that's how I'm going to use the embossing folders. Getting started with the base elements, I think I will go ahead and use, let's see, the red is really too cranberry. Let's see, the yellow. I think I'm gonna go with yellow, this brighter yellow, and the teal. And I'm gonna do some cutting of these to mix and match pieces, and I'm gonna add in some of that pattern paper. So when I'm doing double page layouts, I often do a 1/3, 2/3 cut apart, and 1/3 of 12 by 12 is 4 inches. So I will cut off 4 inches. Yeah, my paper trimmer needs a new blade and it's not going all the way through. Let's see. Sometimes I can crack it and get it all the way through, but that did not work this time. So just reline it up, and there we go. And then I want to cut these apart before I cut into the camera side. So I save the elements I want to layer. So I know I'm going to want, this is our happy place. And then, let's see, is there anything else I want to keep? I like the woohoo. Let's keep that one. Just making sure it's lined up all the way. Woohoo. Do I want any of that? I don't think I want anything else from this strip. So I'm curious, who of you are Disney fans and do the whole Disney park adventures? I am not really a huge Disney person, so whenever I see the Disney papers, I'm like, nope. I was as a kid. I grew up on Disney, so it seems like I would have, still been a fan. But yeah, I watch all the movies and I enjoy them, but I'm not the park going fan that a lot of people are these days. Let's see, just a little goofy. I don't think I'm going to use any of those, so I think what I'm going to do is cut this one down, and then I'm going to cut this in half. That's 2 inches, so I can cut it directly in half at 1 and 1. Did I mismeasure? 1 and 1, it just looks off because of the spacing of my trimmer, but I can use these strips as border strips when I piece back together my cardstock. So that is a very common trick that I use all the time, and you can do the piecing on cards too. If you're not a scrapbooker, you can always take some of these design elements and move them over to cards. Let's see, not a big Disney fan. Sounds like a long day waiting in line. The last time I was at Disney, my middle kid was 6 months old. My brother was in the military for 20 years, and at the time he was getting ready to ship out, probably to the Middle East. And he was able to get military discount tickets. So we drove, it was about 7 hours from where we were back then to get to Disneyland. So we drove 7 hours with our 3-year-old and our 6-month-old, and we went to Disneyland in April, and that was actually a good time to go because the lines were not long. It was not crowded. So besides the fact that we had a newborn baby, it was a really good experience, and Disney was very well set up for families. So there was plenty of space to take breaks and you know, nurse the baby and all of that stuff. So it all worked out quite nicely. And we had a good time. But yeah, that was the last time I was at Disney. The kids have never really expressed any interest in going. The youngest kid, she's now 19, the youngest kid was just terrified of mask things forever. And so Disneyland was not even a possible experience for our family at that point in time, because that would have been miserable for everybody. So yeah, just didn't work out that way. All right, I think I'm going to do the offset double page layout, and I will use this to glue everything together. And then I'm going to trim these down a little bit to get more even borders, because as you can see, this is much bigger than that. And this will give me, this little arrow leads in quite nicely. If I put my title right there, I might need to trim that down a little bit, but that leads in quite nicely to other things, and I'll balance that out on the diagonal with the woohoo down here. I think I'll leave some room for journaling over here. So before I forget to do these other things, let's go ahead and do some die cutting. Now I'm wondering if this is where I can pull in one more color. Do I want to pull in red, even though it's a much darker color? Here's what I'm thinking. Okay, let's see if I can get this to work. I am thinking, oops. I really like, when I'm using embossing folders, I really like to ink the embossing folder. That is one of my favorite techniques. I'm thinking about inking up the houses in a white pigment ink and running it through, and then using circle punches or something to make embellishments. Okay, let's see if this will work. I'm going to cut this paper down so we can run it through. And so these embossing folders are, let's see, they're 4.5 by 5.5. So I will do a 4 by 5. Let's see, I'll do 5 this way. Now we'll do 4 this way because that divides better. 4, well, I'll just make it 4 by 6 since that divides nicely, and let's have some excess hanging off the end. Oops, oh, blade. There we go. And I've got 2 pieces in case I make a mistake, and then a little more paper over there in case I make lots of mistakes. I always like to have backup plans. All right, this is going to be a bit messy, so I'm going to scooch everything that way. I am going to tape this down, and since I only have the image on this part, it's going to be pretty easy to just put a piece of tape up here, a couple pieces of tape. Let's see, Disney with a 6-month-old sounds like torture. You know, it wasn't bad. I just tucked her in my sling, and I don't know how we did the rides. Some of the rides where you just sit, I think it was fine to carry the baby. And I know we had a 3-year-old, so there wasn't a lot of roller coaster rides. And, you know, this was 24 years ago, so I don't even know what level of roller coaster there was back then. But we did a lot of walking and a lot of just enjoying. We did my favorite as a kid was one of my favorites was the tiki house with all the singing birds. So we were able to do that, and the kids enjoyed that. So, yeah. All right, in terms of crafting, pigment ink pads come on spongy, foamy pads, which can tend to sink past the raised up image of the design. So I'm gonna have to be very gentle with this and see if I can just get light taps. Of course, it depends on how inky the pad is, how squishy the foam is, and we can always run this through more than one time, especially since we have our paper taped in place. That will keep everything in the same spot, and we can do this multiple times, much like a stamping platform would allow us to stamp multiple times. So this is going okay. I think I'm going to leave that as run number 1. The tricky part is I have my little cheat sheet. Oh, I was updating my cheat sheet. So these are about as thick, I believe, as the Spellbinders 3D embossing folders, but that says 2D. Bottom, plastic shim, and magnetic shim. I'm going to try this with my bottom plate and my plastic shim just to get started, and we'll see how it does. I'm guessing I'll need to add that other plate in there. Nope. That was too thick. My machine did not want to do that, so that's what we talk about when we're talking about damaging things. So let me try, I'm going to swap that out with this shim instead and see what happens with this. Okay, that's going. It's tight. I'm wondering if I need to eliminate the shim altogether. Let's see how we did. Ooh, not too bad. I think that's looking pretty good. Do I want to run it? You know what? Let's run it again just to see how it goes. And I'm going to eliminate that other shim because I could see things curling as it was coming through the machine. Oh, Lynn likes the Tiki House too. Yeah, that one and the submarine ride was my other favorite. And I know they shut down the submarine ride at some point. I don't remember if it was still there when we went. But those were, and you know, it's a small world. You can't go to Disneyland without It's a Small World. So we did those things. And we might have taken the 3-year-old on the was it a Pirates one that had a water boat that would go down a little chute at the end? I can't remember what that one was called. We may have taken it on that one, but you know, the ghost one where you go down the elevator to get to the haunted house. All right, I'm assuming everything's going to be okay just as is with that tape in place, so we'll just shut it and run it and see how it goes. I'm going to flip this over because it did start to curve on me a little bit, so let's try it this way and see if we can prevent too much warping. That looks better. Hopefully the machine isn't too loud. Okay, it did double. So it did double and blur over here. That one's not great. Oh, this one is okay, but that is more of a church. I don't think that fits my scene so much. So let's try it one more time, and I will just run it through once this time. So yes, things do not always work out correctly the first time around. I think because it was so tight that first run through, it probably shifted the paper. All right, one more try. Luckily this isn't taking too long. All right, send that on through. Round 2, you bet. Round 2. Okay, definitely does not need a shim. Okay, that one is not as inky. Let's see if we can do it one more time. Definitely like more of the detail that I got out of the windows and things though. Let's see this. Sometimes you can feel it snap into place like a puzzle piece. It feels like it's in place, so we'll see. Third time might be the charm for this one. Okay, that looks all right. I'm gonna go with this one. So that is the embossing folder inking technique. Usually I'll do the ink on the other side because I have a lot of challenges with inking on the raised side. but it worked out okay once I figured out what I was doing. So what do you guys think? Do you guys do this technique ever? I like it. It's just one of my favorite techniques. All right, let's, you know what? I'm not gonna clean. I'm gonna set that aside and we'll clean that later. We do need to run our other embossing folder. And what do I want to do? I like the leaves on here, so I think I will use some of the leaves as embellishments. I know I thought I might use the moon, but that doesn't make sense for this story, although we did have some late night activities on our retreat, so maybe. What color do I want to do this embossing folder? Do I want to do, no. You know what? I think I'm going to grab some green, and maybe I have just some scraps of green ready to go. Here we go. That's pretty bright. I'm going to go with that anyway. This is just, I keep a little scrap bin down in a drawer next to me, so I'm just going to go with this. Do I want to do the same technique or let's do the reverse this time. That's where you can feel the flat side. I call the embossing folders the innies and the outies, like belly buttons. So last time we did the outie belly button. We inked that one. This time I'm going to do the innie belly button side, where I can just feel it's mostly flat and the design impresses in. And this one is much easier for me because I can just kind of swipe the ink pad across everything, because all of those images are recessed. And then to get the swiping streaky marks, I'll do a little bit of tapping. And my ink pad is a little on the dry side, so it's got a few more streaky marks in there than usual. Okay. You write with a Sharpie what your sandwich is on the folder. Yeah, I do have a label maker, and sometimes I do that. I've been trying to just memorize it, but I think I think knowing my brain, that's not the best solution. All right, that was very, very subtle. Let's try it again. And if I don't end up liking the white, we can maybe go with a darker green and do a tone-on-tone green, especially since the green in our title is a little bit darker. We can maybe do that, but we'll try this white again and see how it's going. Okay, it feels like it's locked into the puzzle piece. Each folder is very different. That is so true. Okay. I mean, I can see it. Can you guys see the shadow? I'm not terribly excited about that, so I think I am going to leave that in place. And I'm gonna choose a green. I will wash this down and then choose a shade of green to do a tone-on-tone green instead. And I'm not worried about this white on this side. How about, I'm gonna try avocado. This is a darker green. Let's see if I've got a piece of scratch paper. This is maybe, that's pretty dark. Let me see if I've got a shade lighter. Clover is too blue, juniper is too blue, parsley. Okay, let's do parsley. That is a brighter green, but on top of the yellow green, we'll see how it goes. Okay, let me not forget to the trying to do white on a bright color isn't the most successful choice, but you always have to try it and see if it's going to work, because sometimes I'm surprised by things. Okay, this is just water, just scrubbing it out with a microcloth and microfiber and water, and that's good enough that I'm not going to get white ink on my green pad. And we'll do take 2 for this one. Okay, tap, tap, tap to try and get. Now, because this is a water-based ink and not a pigment-based ink, it's going to tend to bead up on the plastic more, so getting smoother inking from this is a little trickier, especially in these very open areas. So sometimes it's a little better to do a lighter coat and then come in with a second run of a heavier coat, but we'll see how that does. Okay, that's better. That's fun. I think, despite it being a little bit streaky, I think I'm going to stick with that. And I'm going to set that aside to clean it up later. That looks clean. Oh, definitely tape. Because I'm only using a part of this, I'm not so worried about the tape tearing, but definitely should hide your tape where you're not going to see it. So you could always cut a panel bigger and then trim it down if the tape tears. I do want to clean my fingers so I don't get fingerprints everywhere. Okay, I'm going to hit this one with the heat gun or both of these actually, because of the white pigment ink that can tend to cause more transfer. So let me mute you while I do that. Okay, I think that will do. I'm just going to kind of do a last little press off on everything. And then I'm going to grab a couple of punches. See, now the tricky thing is, in my mind, I keep thinking about the Disney stories I was telling, but the parts of this that I want are about a summer scrapbook trip. So, okay, I can make some of my journaling about the trees that I saw there because they were different on the East Coast. We were in North Carolina for this trip, and the trees over there were different than they are on the West Coast where I live, so I was impressed with some of the trees. So I think I want some of these trees, and I can just kind of use the houses as a general, like from here to there travel idea. So I'll probably do a couple of the houses, and then I'll use some of the leaves on this. So let me pull out a couple of circle punches because circles are very easy to use. And while I'm at it, let's bring out some other punches that can add a few more elements to the layout. And we might punch some of those out of leftover pattern paper or some of the cardstock that I pulled. Let's see, how is this circle punch gonna fit around some of these leaves? That looks pretty good. In fact, I'll just punch that one. So I like the 1 inch. Let's see, how big are these? I might have to trim a little bit to get, oh, I like that one actually. I like that one. I know I want, okay, I might even want a smaller one. So I don't own a huge amount of punches, but I do have really basic shapes in multiple sizes. So the circles, I definitely have plenty of sizes. Let's see. That one is probably, well, let's see if we can get a little tree. This is a 1/2 inch punch. Let's see if we can get a little tree out of that. And it does cut it off pretty small. I don't think I have anything between 1 1/2. Not true. I have a 3/4. Okay, see, that'll make a nice tree. We'll take at least one tree. That punch is forceful. All right, I think I want to try and get this house back here. Too big. Okay, I like that house because the houses on the East Coast are much older than the houses on the West Coast, so they look a lot different than what I'm used to around here also. Okay, let me cut out a few more elements and then we'll see how many of these I actually end up using. I'm just gonna make this smaller so my punch can reach. Let's see, this one is a little bit bigger and I like to have different sizes of elements, so that might work out nicely. How many do I have here? I've got 3 of those with another tree. Let's cut out a couple more trees. And let's see, if I offset the punch, I can always layer them under something to make that space make sense. So we'll do a left and a right one of trees. Okay, and I think I might be done with that. I'll just set it close by in case I have other ideas. And let's get more of these leaves. So we've got one so far. Let me reach in here and get a couple more. A couple different tones even. Let's see. Don't need a witch's hat. Don't need a ghost. I'm just gonna cut out, you know what, I'm even okay just kind of cutting some things off the edge because I can always tuck that. So let's see, here's a couple more edges. That one would have to tuck a lot, but it might be useful. Do I see, yeah, I got one more over here. Trim. See, this punch is what I was using. One more over here. Okay, that's enough of those. I'm still going to leave out my tab punch in case I want some more layers. Try and make this a little tidier for the camera. Let's see, don't need that. Do need that. I think I'm gonna, let's see, scooch these off just a little bit to the side. Let me go ahead and assemble my background so that we can start building up layers. Okay, so when I do this, I really like working on a grid so that I can see that things are lining up. I will put liquid glue on here because I can have a little bit of wiggle room that way. But again, if you were doing this in a card format, you could do, you know, just cut everything down to the 4.5 by 5 size and then make these each a little bit smaller and you've got the same proportions that you could do for a card. So I'm going to try and center this. And we're not going to see a lot of this strip just because the photo will go over it, but this will structurally hold everything together. So that's why I want it to go all the way across. Oh, I missed that one. Let's do the same thing on this side. Forgot. Oh, I do have water. Forgot to refill it, but it looks like I still have some water in there. Get a drink here after this one. Alright, I know. Gotta watch me glue. That That is definitely the weirdest part of doing lives, is normally when I create a video, I just cut out all the gluing. Oop, upside down, upside down. Did I? Okay, yes. I want the cameras to go towards my larger portion. Almost had that one. Wrong. All right, let me grab a bit of a sip. Do you guys snack on things or have special drinks when you're crafting? I tend not to eat when I'm crafting because I'm super messy and I know I will spill things on my layout, but I always have coffee or water, and it hasn't been too often where I've spilled those on things, but I tell you, sometimes when I've been watercoloring, I've dipped my watercolor brush into my coffee cup. So besides that, I haven't had too many disasters. Okay, I wanted to trim these photos. And I have a very narrow gutter between these photos, and deciding if I want to keep that equal distance all the way around. I have to say that my trimmer is not super great for making sure those things are lined up, so I think I'm just going to do the best I can. Let's see, how close did I get? It's a little crooked, but that's how it goes. Watercolor coffee. Yeah, I did not want to drink my coffee after that. I was very sad because I like my coffee. Well, see, that one's, once you get crooked, then everything else kind of follows that same crooked line, but I am not going to stress out about it because it is just paper. I am not creating masterpieces. And quirky angles later down the road will be something amusing to talk about, right? Sure, that's how that's how I keep myself from stressing out about it. All right, I probably, well, I couldn't have pre-planned this because I didn't know what I was doing. Usually I will pre-trim photos when I'm filming videos, but not so much when everything's a mystery. So I am just going to try and eyeball this one again because my other sides were getting crooked. Part of the problem is that my printer doesn't always print things straight, so my trimmer will trim them straight, but the photo itself is printed crooked. So that is one of the challenges I have with trimming things down. But I tell you, I love making collage prints because it makes the printing process so much easier, and I get so many photos on the layout that there was a while when I was trying to do big events like this with separate pages for separate things, and I can't keep up. So doing collage photo prints has definitely helped keep my process a little bit faster and more under control. Okay, so now that that's trimmed, how is our title piece looking? I'm going to trim it down just a little bit, and then I think I want to pop that up on foam. No stress zone, that's right. I tend to be the kind of person who stresses out a lot, and I tell you, doing some of this stuff has helped me chill out. So I've been able to kind of calm down about myself and perfectionism and all those things a lot through crafting. So that's been a good thing. And definitely doing this kind of thing live where you never know what you're going to get is something I would not ever have imagined my younger self doing, because it would have stressed me out too much. But I have learned and grown as a human being. So that is a good thing. All right, that fits very nicely. I definitely want to pop that one up on foam. Let's see, this is my big chunky roll of foam. You could use like 1.5 pieces, but I'm just gonna cheat it and just put one, and that will actually leave me a little bit of room for tucking some elements around here and there. And this won't be quite as embellished of a page that I normally do, but again, doesn't have to be perfect, and I get the story on the page and my stories are told. So this I need to tack down before I'm going to just try and make an even border, kind of all 3 sides here. It's a little taller. That's pretty close. And then this one I'm going to shove up in the corner to give me more room for embellishing and journaling. And I will definitely not do the journaling live, but I will pull out my journaling stamp and get my journaling lines on there because I have a favorite. Speaking of which, let's just do that. So this is something I've had for about 1 million years, and I did cut it apart so that I could use it in sections. And I use this thing all the time. I was going to say I have no idea where it came from, but it was probably a Technique Tuesday stamp. I don't know if anybody remembers Technique Tuesday, but when I was going to crafty events years ago, I was a big Technique Tuesday fan, and I would always hit their booth and stock up on stamps. Okay, I don't know how much I'm gonna write, so I'm just gonna leave it at that, and if I need more lines later I can add more. But that gives you a sense of spacing, although I see that my head's kind of covering it up. I don't have a great sizing for... Do I want to make my head smaller live? Let me see. Can I do it? Can I make my head? No, I don't think I can do it right now. Alright, I was going to try and make my head smaller, but I will just break things if I attempt that live. Okay, I've got my woohoo, I've got my title. That is now okay. We'll got that in place. What are we going to do with these? Let's grab this punch. Let me see about. I will never use the Mickey, so what if I try and make a tab punch out of some more of these cameras? Sometimes you need pair of tweezers. It's just barely wide enough to fit, so I'm going to try my best. There we go. Not too bad. I'm gonna probably put that up there. I think I might put the date there. Let's grab, let's see. What I'm looking for. I also have this chunky punch, which does little labels. So I will punch solid cardstock. And I don't have any leftover yellow or blue. Let's go back to this scrap of red, and I will punch little labels. I'll just do a few of these to tuck here and there. Ooh, that's loud. I don't know how loud that is on the microphone. That up there. And when in doubt with things, I just stick with the rule of 3 for embellishing and the visual triangle. So I'm going to put something over here in this corner as well. Let's start adding a few of our little elements. So I like to make sure I have some of everything in each element. It doesn't have to be identical, but like I have words, and then maybe some words over here as well. What? Best day ever, big cheese. I like Haya. I think I want to just cut that out. So that way I have a little bit of unity between all of my clusters. That I have a little bit of similarity going on with everything, and that label can just be just let it be a layer and not a label where I need to write anything. Okay, I don't think I'm going to glue all this down while we're live. We're getting close to the top of the hour, but I will get a lot of things in place just so you can see how everything is going to come together. And I'm going to do plenty of layering down here. Let's see, let's rotate that one so I can see more of the leaves. Let's see, I want to add something else up here. Do I want to add a tree? I don't know if that makes sense there. Let's see, maybe if I build it up a little bit more, it can mean something. Lots of leaves over here. Another tree over here. Let's see, I really did, you know what, I think I'm gonna swap that out. I really like the house, and I want to include some of that in my journaling about how I was fascinated by the older houses, so I definitely want to incorporate that. So I want to make, because this one is bigger, I want to make these little elements tuck more so that they look smaller. How are we doing? You know, I think I will get out some enamel dots or some sequins for some sparkly happy shine, which I've got sitting right here. Question is, do I want to bring in another color like this? Sure, I'm going to use some gold sequins. All right, so I think I'm going to go ahead and call it at that. So let me just try and zhuzh everything together so you can see what the final idea is here. And I will glue this all together offline and post some photos in the group. So there is page 1, and here is page 2. Very simple scrapbook layout, but as you can see, we got it done in an hour. We didn't even know what we were doing when we started. We're going to add a few more minutes and a little bit more time to add a bit of extra sparkly fun, but really that is fast and simple scrapbooking right there. Oh, the sound of the punch was not too bad. That's good because it is super loud on my end. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Let me bring this back to my face. Well, that was a rather timely, quick one. I know some of you are card makers rather than scrapbookers, so hopefully you can get some ideas about general design and transform those over to your card making as well. And mostly, I just like doing this project because it's silly. To start with a box of who knows what and to come up with something, it kind of helps reinforce techniques that you have in your mind so that they're fresher and more on the front of your mind when you look at products. You're like, oh, I could do this, I could do that. So that is why I like to do this project. Had a great time. I'm so glad. Looks good, says Lynn. Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate that. I thank you guys for being here because I know that there are many, many things you could be doing with your time, and it is actually a true compliment that you guys choose to spend it here with me. So thank you very much. and I will get this wrapped up and posted to the groups. And if you don't know, I have started a Facebook group. It is very quiet over there right now because I haven't done all the things to like invite all the people to come. So I'm just trying to put it out there here and there, but I will post this over in the Facebook group as well as post it on the photos in the YouTube community and maybe on Instagram. So I will get this posted up in the various places, and so you can see what it looks like when it's all done. So thank you once again, and I hope you have enjoy the rest of your evening, whether you're late on the East Coast or getting ready for dinner here on the West Coast. Thanks for being here, guys. Good night.